the title says here, Lighting Safety Innovations used by Connecticut DOT, Bureau of Highway Operations. This really, the innovations really are for us, are more driven on the manufacturer or vendor side. It's how we put them to use. So I mean, they're developing these products that have these great capabilities, and we're figuring out how do we design them for our, you know, our use in our DOTs everywhere or in Connecticut. So we were tasked, this is a report, I'm not gonna read it, came out of Federal Highways that was tasked by our executive team, really talking about safety in work zones and what you can do for work zone safety. So in Connecticut, we consider if our warning lights are on, could be a moving operation, could be a standing operation, could be a long-term operation, it's a work zone. It doesn't matter. Due to a lot of things that have happened, including recently, we lost a 26-year-old DOT employee that got ran over while picking trash on the side of the road by somebody that was impaired, but went by our crash trucks, around the whole work zone, and in front, and took them right out. So terrible thing, happens every day, happens to all of us more than shouldn't happen at once, never mind multiple times. So here, I mean, these are some compelling facts that drive us to our warning lights. You know, what we do, how do we provide warnings, you know, how do we make it better, safer on the roads? I mean, it's pretty compelling when you look at, you know, the work zone fatalities, injuries, you know, it's pretty compelling. We're seeing, I'm sure everybody else is seeing as well, that in Connecticut, after COVID, speeds are up, not paying attention. We do have a move over law, not really, we'll say the people that want to do it, it's not necessarily overly effective, but we're trying to combat that in any way, shape, or form we can. So we were able to, in 2018, there's a video here and I'll play it in a minute, but 2018 we had to change our 1496 legislation, which is our light colors in the state of Connecticut. So we're able to add, and it reads in our 1496, that amber and green in combination is assigned to Connecticut DOT. So we saw a lot of benefits of it. We saw, you know, it's much more visible, especially when we early started on. We didn't go backwards to older vehicles. So if you had them in combination out there, an older vehicle and a couple newer ones or vice versa, you know, just the perception alone, they were more visible. The staff started asking for them. They were, you know, wanted more and more. We did do a few you know, we'll say go backwards for the metro garages, the major highways, but we really didn't. Lot of benefits here. Is it innovative? I don't know. It's been color transition's been talked about for a long time. We were just able to do it. One big thing with it now, and Eric can speak to it too. We've had, you know, constituents within the state now. The major players are Oldcastle, Tilcon, you know, our O&Gs, our major construction contractors have had their lobbyists basically come to the table and say, we want it too. We have a hard time defining that or controlling it because we don't have a lot of, you know, enforcement on that. Our level of enforcement for us is basically if we have a contractor on the job and he runs on with amber green, we throw him off the job until he turns the green off. So that's the only way we're controlling it. State police aren't going to enforce it. Motor vehicles is not going to enforce it. We lost a lot of that when we went away from a permitting light color. DMV used to permit for light colors. So, but I'll play this video if it'll play for me here. Yep. Is it playing? Yeah. So it's one of our new trucks. If you notice quickly, the truck and the lights on the back of the trailer are actually synced. We do synchronization now. So we're also doing warning light delete, and this is something that's available from multiple manufacturers. We heard, a presentation earlier this week from at least one manufacturer of what their capabilities are and how they're growing. Our guys seem to like this. We had a lot of rear-facing accidents, especially we would get in the police report, well, the light was blinking for turn signal, and they were basically looking at the warning light. So this again, it's one of our newer trucks, and we do turn signal, we do brake light, delete. We don't really see an issue of it because we have the two on the headboard. One on the headboard is enough to meet the minimum standard, so the two on the headboard will meet that SAE for the standard. There's a video here. This one's a little bit longer. Maybe hard to see. It's hard to see on this. It's easier to see on that. But it works. We're seeing less, especially in snow operations. We're seeing less rear impact accidents, especially in the downtown metro areas where traffic is worse. Did I go backwards? All right. So synchronization. So we started really looking hard at synchronization to delete some of that chaos out on the highway, especially in our work zones. I mean, in Connecticut, we predominantly we don't really set up a full cone pattern, sign pattern. We predominantly run with crash units, and meet the standard, but not really a full pattern because we kind of consider everything a moving operation. So they hit and move, or if it's a longer operation, we get told to get off the road because traffic's getting worse anyways. So, we started doing some synchronization, and we started, and here's why. And I think the last presentation, this part of this slide was in there. Why do we do it? I'm not going to read it to you because I think we've had two very technical presentations from the EMTSP report. But this is why we looked at it and started to do it. So when we first started with it, we started not necessarily with the trucks, but we started with our TMAs, our TTMAs, to synchronize the arrows. We put one set out very early on. Every district came back. We won within 4 districts in the state, and they wanted to change all of them overnight. Well, change 209 TTMAs overnight is not going to happen. But I'll show you, it's an older video. I know the quality's not great, but it's pretty impressive. So it kind of hits and releases. Because we have the amber green in our 1496 legislation, we actually added the green to the arrows. Our FHWA in Connecticut, our Connecticut branch, we had some conversations with them because on the MUTCD, they basically said, you're okay, you're meeting the minimum standard of the MUTCD by having that amber there, you're just flashing green on the other side, we're okay with it. So it was a nice thing to get to, but yeah. This is another video. It's a little bit, it's same scenario, a little different. I'll just play it for you. It's kind of standing back a lot farther, and it kind of shows you how it hits. The feedback I get from the crews on the road is they're seeing a better response for the traffic moving over instead of creating that chaos with 3 of them flashing at a different pattern. It's all hitting at the same time. So these are a couple of standards, and I think you saw it in the last presentation too, that we reference against the NFPA and the ambulance. We looked at for the warning light synchronization that are out there. There's nothing for for like the DOTs or construction, but we kind of looked at it that way. So one of the things we found, and actually Eric, who's here, found these in, we're at TRB in Washington, D.C. So these are basically electronic flare. They sync. They do a lot of cool things. They sync. We use them predominantly. We use them with our cones, especially on night operations. And you'll see in a minute here. There's a video, but it definitely provides a notification to the driver, especially coming into those work zones. And this video shows. So what we do is we put them under the cone, and they will run sequential like that. You have a couple modes on them. You can make them so they all flash at the same time. There's a couple different versions of them. And you can mount them. They have a mount you can mount on top of the cone if you wanted, that visual effect. But we put them out. We put a handful of sets out. Eric, he stepped out for a minute, but we put a handful of sets out to try them. And I think we turned around and bought 1,000 sets of them like 4 days later. So not overly expensive, but it also gets us around. We use regular old flares, especially on incidents, and sometimes you can't use them because it's a diesel spill, problem. This kind of gets around that, at least to mark that. And they found some other ways to use them. The guys are pretty ingenious out on the road. So the other nice thing about these is this is another piece that you don't have to use, but if you do it, it ties it to Waze. So it'll tell Waze that there's a work zone out on the road. So the driver, that's going out over a standard program, showing that, there's a work zone here. So some of our guys have taken them. They're magnet. They have a magnet on the back, a real strong magnet. They'll take one of them sometimes and put it on like the back of a truck on a secondary road that's following a mower, and then turn it on and run the Pi-Link. And it's putting it out there that someone's up ahead doing something. So like I said, the staff figured out how to use them in pretty impressive formats. I know it's lighting out, innovations, but we kind of look at it all as the work zone. So these are, some of these, like the Pi lights are it's lighting. That's the way I looked at it. And then another piece is the HINV lights, which is a UV-driven light that actually makes the apparel, like the vest. Most of the time, our bridge departments are required to wear the full pants at night, but makes them glow. It's actually pretty impressive. That notification to the driving public. We actually use a cone-mounted one, so you just drop it on the cones. Rechargeable. We're just starting to mount them to some of the TTMA trucks that are out there. But this next slide kind of gives you the appearance. So you'll see in the octagon there that's it working, and then on the other side, it's the same picture with it on and with it off. Definitely provides that silhouette, that area for the driver, or for the people in the field working on the ground. We look at it as anything you can provide a notification. There's no silver bullet. Nobody, impaired driver, they're going to enter our work zones. It's going to happen, But if we can at least try to identify them, make them more visible, hopefully we reduce that level of impact. So, and this is just another video of the same thing. Or another, that's our cone mount there, surface mount. So some of the other things, and this came out on our maintenance side of the house, but we've been piloting lighted vests, especially for the night work. They're rechargeable. Definitely brings up some vision, a lot more sight for the traveling public. The guys seem to like them. The bridge guys like them, and that's just a picture of some of them out there on the road. So this is a big one for us. Intrusion detection. Anything entering the work zone. So I'm going to go to the next So that we're trying to use intrusion detection to provide notification to either our work staff that are out there in the work zone and the driving public. So hopefully, you know, if somebody's just reaching down to text or doing something, you know, for that hot second, that they can make a correction before they whack the back of our trucks or hit one of our staff or personnel. And this is just for effect of kind of like what happens out there. This happens every day. This happens every day. That's a square on hit. We don't end up with a lot of those. We end up with a lot of left or right side hits, but that's pretty impressive. I can play it again if you want to see it. All right, I'll play one more. Play it one more time. Let's see if it'll do it again. Yeah, there you go. That I don't know. I actually found this video on a like crash site, and it was impressive because we use that same exact crash unit. So, and I was like, I've seen the after effects of them. I've never been like on scene. We get them hit every day, almost every day. But I've never been on scene and actually see what happens. I see the after effects, but this kind of played what the effects were. So we started working with a company, Zone Command, on intrusion detection. They're using a camera and AI technology to read that level of traffic that's coming in. It reads the speed, it reads, you know, size, it reads how fast it's coming. You know, we did some beta testing early on at our Rensselaer field. Everything's positive, and we're at like final point. We're putting 36 of them out in the field right now. Part of the notification, and the reason I put this in here, part of the notification is we change those colors of the arrow if they enter the work zone. And there's a short video that I'll show in a second. So, like I said, the Zone Command uses AI to accurately identify approaching vehicles and warn both drivers and workers of potential collision. So what we're doing right now, we have I think half a dozen of the 36. They're slowly delivering in out there. We're not using the audible alarm right now. We're using the lights, but we're letting the AI get smarter. The more it's out there, the smarter it gets. So the more we put out there, the background of it will get smarter and smarter. And there's people here, if you want to see the background of what that AI is doing, they have a video in there of what it picks up. It puts like a block around it, and it's actually pretty cool. So it captures valuable data, real time, such as speed, asset location, vehicle count. The data can be used to study patterns, prevent future accidents. Really don't know. I mean, the level of the data that it's picking up is going to be beneficial in a lot of ways. So as it grows, can we use this to track speed, and can we tie it to we have a pilot, it was a pilot last year, now it's a permanent thing with work zone speed cameras. Can we tie it to that? Is there a way we could tie it to that, put these as they're out there in the program? So last year we only had a pilot with it. We only could use it in multiple locations. Now it's statewide. They reduced the speed limit on it to get a ticket. We were at 75 last year. They reduced it down to 70 this year. So we're looking to see some benefits of that, and we're thinking we may be able to use some of this data that comes out of this for that. So is it playing? Yep. Okay. So this is some of the beta testing we did at Rensselaer Field, and if you'll notice, I apologize, there's no audio, but when it goes by, if you saw, changes the arrow from its flash pattern to red to provide a visual notification. If you could hear the audio, it would actually, you'd hear the alarm going off too, and it's pretty dang loud. So, and that black SUV, we'll just say, was my bureau chief who I report to, and he kind of was having fun seeing what an EcoBoost motor would do that day. So kind of closed course. So we've been looking at this, maybe not the AI piece, but we've been looking at this for many years in Connecticut. So this is a piece of a study we did. We put some radar units that are really, they were really made to be mounted on a pole. I think everybody has them out there in their states. We're usually in school work zones. And we mounted them to crash unit trucks. And we did some speed testing using a warning light indication with the speed indication out there. And this dates back to 2007, 8? Dick would know. I can't remember. 2007, 8. So we've been kind of looking at this at different levels for many, many years. And here's some of the stuff that came out of it. So this is, you don't have to read this whole thing, but this is the baseline test. We basically just put it out there, didn't have the radar on, and just kind of tracked the traffic out there. So if you read this whole chart or digested it, this is the answer. So the summary of this, the average speed was set, this is on we'll call it a Route 9, which is not a main thoroughfare, but it's a split axis highway. Average speed was 70, highest speed was 85. Vehicles above 65 were 82%. It's posted at 65. Yep. So this was test 2 with the radar unit on. Moving forward, and you're going to see, I'll show you the next slide here in a second, but it greatly reduced that level of speed coming by. So the summary on that chart was the average speed 62, highest speed 76, vehicles above the 65 went down to 28%. So providing that notification has proven that point, and I think someone said it earlier, I don't know, Shane or somebody said, you know, the speed zone, marking that they were in a speed zone and they could get a ticket did help. Well, this dates back, this study dates back many years, and we were kind of proving it out there. So this is the next one, and this is providing the notification that they're above that posted speed limit. And you can read this, but providing that notification with the radar and providing it with the lighting, and here's where we ended up. So the average speed ended up 52 in the work zone. The highest speed was 63. Vehicles above 65 went down to 0. So, I mean, it's an old study, but this is where we started to transition to that AI, that piece we're doing now with the intrusion. And it's tied to the speed and that light at least the light notification. If now we're going to be adding audible to that as well. So that study and some of the AI stuff have created our transition. So we're transitioning now in Connecticut from we're always going to have the trailers, but we're transitioning to the full TTMA trucks. And through our executive staff, they want every truck to be equipped like this, and we're going to bring some of that technology to provide when they're above the speed limit to change that lighting, either to red or white. We're kind of talking at that now. This is commercially produced. We're just going to add on top of that if they're above that speed limit. So we can hopefully provide that level of protection for our people. Yeah, this is just some of the TTMA upgrades that were in the picture there. So one thing I just want to say, so I spoke earlier on the person that we had killed recently on a highway. So our state police, these TTMA trucks have forward-facing and rear-facing cameras, and they record. Our state police have the video of the whole thing. I can't talk a lot about it. I've actually seen it, but the rear camera shows it going by, and the front camera shows the incident. So, yeah. So we were able. There some benefits there that'll help with that investigation and that. So the only other thing I just want to throw it out there, and the reason I threw it out there is because we run up against our trucks, the idle shutdowns. The guys are out there. If they're out there for extended periods of time, the truck's dead by the time they go back. Goes up against the idle shutdown. They leave the fan motor, the wipers, the headlights, everything on, and truck's dead. So we looked at idle mitigation to keep the warning lights running. You know, there's a lot of benefits to it, a lot of benefits carbon footprint, a lot of benefits, you know, a lot of different ways, which is not here. It's really, for this presentation, it's driven on keeping those warning lights up there. But, you know, here's some of the stuff. But we had a bridge go, well, we had a tanker fire under a bridge. We had to tear the bridge down over a weekend, over our 95 corridor. We had 2 or 3 of these trucks out there. They went out there Thursday night at the point of the accident. They stayed on scene with their idle mitigation on. I think a couple of them didn't start the whole time they were out there, running their message boards and the warning lights. I think one of the trucks started one time. So senses low voltage, keeps the warning lights running. The system we're using will actually keep that cab hot or cold as well. So it's, you know, the guys are comfortable out there. But yeah, and like I said, maintaining the lights. We were running up when they would go to shutdown with the aero boards. You would have to go back out and reprogram the aero board. Oh, you've ran up against that. So they had, you know, if they go restart, if they see it and restart the truck and forget, they might have a right arrow where they need a left arrow or whatever, you know, it defaults back to. And if they don't check it, that's just going to create chaos out there. So yeah, there's a couple systems that we're using for idle mitigation. And, you know, we're a very green state. Our governor's very green, and our commissioner's very green. He loves EVs, so trying to reduce that carbon footprint. And that's all I got. That's Dick's first truck. So.
Questions?
First of all, fantastic presentation. Thank you. A bunch of questions. So we tried the Pi lights just in a couple configurations.
Well, they're made out in Southern California somewhere. So.
Yeah, we tried the magnet effect. We were more looking at, because, you know, this is near and dear to our heart too, and we've tried red and blue, and we're fighting our CHP to be able to get the use of an optional color other than amber. We actually made our own early warning trailer similar to that, but we leveraged existing technologies, and we used, you know, radar instead of AI. So I'm excited to see the new AI stuff. I went and talked to the vendor earlier. And so I might be reaching out to you and looking at that. The question I had on those, the big speed sign on the back. Yep. We've been wanting to implement that technology for quite a while, the one year speed and whatnot. Who's the vendor on that? Is that commercially available?
So yes, that's commercially available. So I don't know we get that through Royal Truck. We were buying our TTMA trucks. We have a contract with Royal Truck. So we're buying those through Royal Truck. I'd have to go look at the board. It's an offering they have. It's an option offering they have. I don't know who the manufacturer of the board is. I don't think Royal produces it. So I think it's a third party that they put on.
Okay, and then just one more comment on the audible warning, because you're talking about audible warning. Our early warner, you know, we went through that on the audible warning. We put the howler growlers off of fire trucks and ambulances on there. And what we found is, even in your like Chevy Volts or your quiet EVs, if you just have the radio at a reasonable volume, you can't hear it until you're past it. Mm-hmm. And so you're already be in the work zone before you could hear that. So I'm interested to see what you guys end up coming up with, because, you know, shy of an air raid siren, we ran out of ideas.
So yeah. So our plan is you know, when we're running trailers out there or the TTMA trucks out there, if they're what they call a moving operation, quote unquote, they have to have a minimum of 3. So operationally, we're going to direct them, if it has the zone command, the AI system, it's the first unit that they come to. So we played around with some demos, and we're thinking we're going to direct it to the first unit, so they should hear it coming by. And then they still got 2 more units to get by. So, is Kevin or Brian in the room? What's the audible alarm? What are we using for it? I should know it, but I
yeah. Well, so right now, Jim, it's either 100 watts or 200 watts, depending on the number of speakers we put on. But it's 200 watts of sound is pretty powerful. Yeah, we're having. And it all depends on the tone that you choose, obviously, but 200 watts of sound is pretty good.
one thing I forgot to mention it, when I was showing the data with the radar, with our early units with the radar, and it showed the blue and the red lights, well, we did the test, and then we got a nice, very nice courtesy call from our state police that we couldn't use the blue and the red. They actually, at that time, we were okay with going to all red, which is what we ended up doing, but they didn't want us using the blue and the red. And they were very nice about it, but I didn't want to get the second phone call, so.
They weren't as nice, they drove 80 miles.
So. I wish. Yeah, no, that's actually, I'll be honest with you, that's actually, moving around my years through DOT, it was framed in a desk drawer. When I moved to locations, so once I found it, I kind of picked it up and I've been carrying it around. It hangs on the wall in my office now, so. I have that, and I found that, and an Athi, auto loader. Anybody know what Athi auto loader is? It uses, yeah, well, Athi auto loader. They used to use them in Connecticut to load snow off the bridges and highways. It's got like a big rubber paddle. You drive offset to one side. It's got a paddle and chain on one side, and it spits up and picks it up and puts it in a dump truck. Yeah, no, this is, yeah, no, this would just, very slow, like a conveyor, would load it to a dump truck, so, yep.
Anyone else?
John from Mount Sinai.
How are
I was interested in the black light that you showed.
the HINV light, the UV?
Yeah, the UV. How far away can you get and still get some reflectivity? And then, related to that, would you use these mainly as like a thing around the perimeter of the controlled area, or how would you tend to use them?
So like I said, so what we do for the work zones, for what Connecticut does, the manufacturer came up with a cone mount, so we're able to get it like right into the work zone, because they usually have cones there anyway, so we just drop it on top of one of the cones. How far, Kevin, does it reach? I haven't really tested how far, because we're putting them so close to our work zones. So.
Yeah, depending on the fixture you use, we're currently at least 150, roughly between 100 and 150 feet out, working on some bigger fixtures that will obviously project farther, but 100 to 150 feet right now is pretty standard.
Yeah, we just put a request to the manufacturer who's here of it to go to like a 4x7. Right now it's like a 1x3 or 2x4, so go to a bigger light so we can add them to vehicles so they can reach out a little bit more.
Anyone else? Okay.